What if one island could challenge everything we thought we knew about human migration? A place that lies just off the coast of Africa, yet where its people carry DNA and languages that whisper of a homeland thousands of kilometers away in Southeast Asia. A place where African drums and Austronesian chants blend into one heartbeat. Welcome to Madagascar, an island whose DNA tells a story so extraordinary it rewrites the map of human history. Subscribe to our channel for more science-based stories that uncover the truth hidden in our genes and our past. Because the story of Madagascar's DNA isn't just about where people came from. It's about how far humanity can travel, adapt, and connect. For centuries, historians, linguists, and explorers puzzled over Madagascar's greatest mystery. How could an island only 400 kilometers off the coast of Africa speak a language related not to Swahili or Zulu, but to Malay and Indonesian tongues from islands 6,000 kilometers away? The Malagasy language belongs to the Austronesian family, the same linguistic group that stretches from Taiwan to Polynesia. To early scholars, this connection was almost impossible to believe. How could ancient people, long before European exploration, have crossed such vast oceans? Then, in the late 20th century, science found the answer. Not in old maps or forgotten chronicles, but in the most reliable history book of all, our DNA. Geneticists from Oxford University, the University of Antananarivo, and the Max Planck Institute began to analyze the Y-DNA, paternal line, and mDNA, maternal line, of modern Malagasy people. What they found astonished the world. Madagascar's DNA was split almost perfectly in half, one part African, the other Austronesian. This wasn't a vague mixture or a slow blending over time. It was the genetic echo of a specific event, a migration so daring and unique that it stands as one of humanity's greatest seafaring achievements. The African connection. Let's start close to shore. For thousands of years, the African mainland, particularly modern-day Mozambique and Tanzania, has been home to Bantu-speaking peoples. These were skilled farmers and ironworkers who spread south and east from West Africa around 2,000 years ago, bringing with them crops, tools, and the roots of many African languages. By the first millennium CE, these Bantu groups had reached the coast of East Africa, trading along the Swahili coast, exchanging goods with merchants from Arabia and India. At some point, they crossed the channel to Madagascar, likely bringing livestock, grains, and cultural practices that would become core elements of Malagasy life. Their genetic legacy is clear. Most Malagasy paternal DNA belongs to African Y chromosome haplogroups, particularly E1b1a, common among Bantu peoples across sub-Saharan Africa. Their African ancestry reflects strength, migration, and adaptation, the story of a people who carried their world across water. But this is only half the story, because when scientists looked at the maternal DNA, the mDNA passed down from mothers to children, they found something truly unexpected.
The Austronesian connection. Roughly half of the maternal lineages in Madagascar trace back not to Africa, but to island Southeast Asia. These markers, particularly haplogroup B4A1A1, are found today in Borneo, Sulawesi, and the Philippines, islands thousands of kilometers across the Indian Ocean. How did this happen? To understand, we must go back 4,000 years, when the Austronesians, master navigators from Taiwan and the Malay archipelago, began one of the greatest migrations in human history. They invented the outrigger canoe, a vessel so advanced that it allowed them to travel against winds and across open ocean, guided only by the stars, waves, and flight of birds. These seafarers colonized the Philippines, Indonesia, and eventually the far reaches of the Pacific, Hawaii, Easter Island, and New Zealand. But one group sailed west instead of east, venturing into the unknown waters of the Indian Ocean. Sometime around 1,500 years ago, perhaps as early as the 5th or 6th century CE, a small Austronesian community, possibly from the Barito River region of southern Borneo, embarked on a voyage unlike any other. Their destination was not another island of the Pacific, but the faraway coast of Africa. When their canoes finally touched the shores of Madagascar, the world gained one of the most extraordinary examples of human endurance and exploration ever recorded.
Echoes in culture and tradition. You can still see the genetic history of Madagascar reflected in its culture. The Malagasy people build outrigger canoes just like their Austronesian ancestors. Their traditional rice cultivation mirrors that of Southeast Asia, not Africa. And their rituals of ancestor worship, honoring the dead through ceremonies like the Famadihana or turning of the bones, resonate deeply with customs from both Asia and Africa. Even music reflects this union. The rhythms of African drums merge with the melodies of Indonesian bamboo instruments, creating something uniquely Malagasy, a sound born from two continents, shaped by the ocean between them. Madagascar's cuisine, too, is a meeting point. Rice from Asia, cassava from Africa, spices from the Indian Ocean trade routes. Every dish, every song, every belief is a reminder that this island is not a boundary, but a bridge. The genetic evidence. The science behind this story is as fascinating as the history itself. Genetic studies of Malagasy people consistently show two dominant lineages. Y-DNA haplogroup E1b1a, tracing paternal ancestry to Bantu-speaking Africans, and mtDNA haplogroup B4A1A1, linking maternal ancestry to Austronesians from Borneo. The presence of these markers in nearly equal proportions provides a clear genetic fingerprint of dual origin. Interestingly, the Austronesian component appears more pronounced in maternal DNA, suggesting that the early settlers from Southeast Asia were primarily women, possibly part of a small migrating group who joined African or Arab trading communities. This theory fits with historical trade patterns. As early as the first millennium CE, Arab and Persian sailors were navigating the Indian Ocean, connecting East Africa, India, and the Malay archipelago. Madagascar sat at the center of these sea routes, a natural crossroads for cultural and genetic exchange. Madagascar is a microcosm of globalization long before that word even existed. It shows that humans have been crossing oceans, trading ideas, and mixing cultures for millennia. While Europe was still in its early medieval period, Austronesian and African sailors had already bridged continents. Their encounter on Madagascar became a biological and cultural experiment in coexistence, one that succeeded so completely it still thrives today. This ancient fusion also reshapes how we understand race and identity. It reminds us that no culture, no people, and no nation is ever pure or isolated. Every human population carries within it the traces of others, stories of contact, trade, migration, and love. Just as the Filipino genome carries whispers of Sephardic Jewish ancestry from the Spanish Empire, the Malagasy genome carries the intertwined legacy of Africa and Asia, two cradles of civilization meeting on one island.
The broader impact. What Madagascar teaches us about being human. Madagascar is more than a geographical oddity or a case study in genetics. It's a metaphor for humanity itself. It shows how people separated by oceans can still find each other, create new worlds, and share destinies. Our DNA is not static. It's a storyteller, recording voyages, encounters, and the resilience of those who came before us. When you look at the genetic map of Madagascar, you don't see division, you see connection. It's proof that the human journey has always been global. And perhaps the greatest lesson of all, history isn't something that happens around us. It lives within us, written in every cell, carried forward by every heartbeat. Chua. Call to action. So what does Madagascar's DNA teach us about ourselves? That identity isn't a percentage on a test or a neat label on a map. It's a tapestry, woven from the threads of countless ancestors who dared to cross borders, seas, and expectations. The Malagasy people embody this truth. They are not simply African or Asian, they are both and more. A living bridge between worlds, proof that humanity's greatest power is connection. And maybe when we trace our own DNA, we'll find something similar, a hidden link, a forgotten migration, a reminder that the world has always been one. If this story changed how you see history, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment below, and share what surprising connections you found in your own ancestry. Your stories inspire the next ones we tell, because in the end, we are all part of the same vast family, our genomes bound by the endless voyage of humanity.